to Mr. Liang Tao Ming, the Chief Sales and Marketing Officer of the Czech Port City Colombo project. We will be discussing briefly the policy implications and the future of the Port City project, which has generated quite a lot of discussion in Sri Lanka recently. Mr. Ming, thank you very much for visiting the IPS. We were discussing the new Port City project that has come up, and it's a project that has brought about a lot of discussion in Sri Lanka in the socio-economic policy and political structures. Recently in August, the new Port City the agreement was signed between the government and the investors. Why don't you give us a brief introduction as to, into the master plan of what this project entails?
Well, the project itself will be made up of 5 distinct urban districts. Okay, it's anchored by the Central Park Living, which is right within the middle of the project itself, where we have a huge 22 hectares Central Park and the residential that's surrounding it. And then to the right, we have the commercial component of the project, which is basically right next to the existing Colombo city. That part itself will be made up of the international financial city and mainly on the commercial office and retail. Further down south from there is where we have going to have the first marina for Sri Lanka, and then to the left we have the Living Island, and right at the top we have the International Island that is so called because of the fact that we are going to have a integrated resort there. We're going to have a hospital there, we're going to have a school there, and we're going to have a convention and exhibition center. And for all this, what we are trying to do is that we are trying to attract top international global operators to come in and operate these services, which is why we call it the International Island.
So it's clear that it's not only for financial businesses or investments.
Not only for financial investments, financial businesses, but basically it is a very diversified city plan where we would have different components and they complement each other. And if you could imagine trying to live there, basically then it would provide you with a very nice living environment. It will also provide you with the offices to work in if you happen to work there, or maybe the commercial services that you're looking for. And if you happen to fall sick, there's a top global hospital for you to go to and a top international school for you to send your children to. And for their entertainment and lifestyle, there's an integrated resort which will boast of family entertainment. There will be the convention and exhibition center which we will hope to host top international musical and shows over there. And the marina if you own a yacht. So it is a very integrated kind of a living lifestyle that we're trying to put together.
One of the key challenges going forward is going to be in terms of attracting investment. What's the timeline like going to be in the future in terms of engaging with potential investors and getting them to come and invest in the project?
Well, the development timeline for the project is about 25 to 30 years. So attracting investor is going to be a time frame of 25 to 30 years, which we have already started. All right. So far we have been to the Middle East market, we have been to the Indian market, we have been to the Southeast Asian market, and we are already talking to parties about investing in this project itself. But in terms of the actual physical development of the project, what will happen here is that the reclamation will take 3 years. But we think that the first land that can be built on will be 2 years from now. Construction period will take about 4 to 5 years. So if you put that together, basically what it means here is that the Port City will be operational about maybe 6 to 7 years from now.
What has been the interest like when you have engaged with these potential investors, particularly given the competition that Colombo will face with regional competitors?
But I think in all veteran investors, they will never say no to a particular place. Right? What will happen here is that they will obviously go and weigh the attributes that Sri Lanka has to offer versus the other cities that's competing with us. And here, I'm talking about international competition. You're talking about major cities in India. You're talking about Yangon, Ho Chi Minh City, Kuala Lumpur, even cities like Dubai and Singapore. And each one of us, whether it is going to be Colombo or it is going to be Singapore, it's going to be Yangon, has got a set of attributes by the fact of its physical location, the policies that the government put in to attract investments, the kind of taxation policies, the ease of doing business, all this will be taken into consideration by an investor. And he's going to weigh all this out. And what he's going to do is that if he has got a limited pool of funds, he will then put it on what he would consider as the best bet. And whether that's going to be Sri Lanka, that's what we have to work on.
One of the issues that has generated a lot of discussion is the environmental impact of the project. What do you say to critiques of the project and the environmental impact of this?
I think we have done a very elaborate SEIA that was published end of last year. In fact, after that, when we put it up for public consultation, there were about 200 feedback that we received, either in terms of questions or in terms of suggestions. And what we have done is that we have actually answered to all of them. And we have adopted some of the suggestions given to us, which resulted in some of the 72 conditions that were given to us when the Coastal Conservation Department actually issued the permit for us to resume work. All right. So basically, I think the SEIA was prepared by a team of international consultants, including the Dutch, including the Hong Kongers, and also having a lot of input from the top universities in Sri Lanka and the top consultants in Sri Lanka as well. So we have covered that extensively, and in fact earlier we have done a lot of studies that have the duration of almost 2 years in terms of how to actually contain and minimize any possible effect. So we are confident that after all these studies that we have done, and after all the endorsements by the various consultants, we have actually minimized the environmental impact. And whatever that has been mentioned, which you hear publicly, honestly, if you refer back to the SEIA, it has been answered very thoroughly.
Final, Mr. Ming, what are some of the key factors that will determine the success or the failure of this project going forward?
I think at the end of the day, the project itself is basically just an infrastructure, and that's what we are. We are an infrastructure builder, we are an infrastructure provider. How we can fill up this city really depends on the demand that is generated. And what I can say at this point in time is that there's interest, but the interest will only be forthcoming provided if there's policies seen in attracting these investments, particularly from overseas. And I think that requires the government to formulate all these policies that make Sri Lanka attractive as an investment destination. And basically, I think the Institute of Policy Studies can do a key role in this by coming up with research papers that help the government formulate the correct policies to attract the investments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ming, and we hope to see you back at the Institute of Policy Studies soon.
Thank you. You're most welcome.
Thank you.